So hello and welcome to yet another fascinating episode of the Ask Blue podcast. I'm joined today yet again by a couple of great guests. Pleased to welcome Jason Krause from ELO and Chris Dewar from Ergonomic Solutions. So really good to have you here with me today, guys. How are you doing?
Thank you. Good.
Glad
to be here.
Good. Pleased to hear it. Yeah, great to have you here. So just by way of a start, I apparently need no introduction, so I'm not going to bother introducing myself, but yourselves, just for the benefit of the listeners or the listener to the Blue Star Ask Blue podcast, you guys want to introduce yourselves and tell a little bit about...
Go ahead, sir. You're very kind,
Chris,
sir.
go first.
I was going to let you go first, but I'm more happy to it.
Very, very gentlemanly
very
of both of you.
Very gentlemanly.
What's happening here? This is an unusual turn of
unheard
events.
of on the podcast, really. Yeah. Okay. So, hi everybody. I'm Chris Dewar from Ergonomic Solutions. I'm a business development manager focused on the growth of our digital signage strategy.
Good stuff. Jason, tell us a bit
Jason
about
Krause, Director of Product Management for ELO. I focus on the display vertical, so I'm managing IDS, monitors, medical monitors, and the strategy around those.
IDS, interactive digital signage.
Yes.
I want to make that clear because
Yes,
I think that's a
digital
topic that
signage.
might come up a little bit
It
more
might.
in the podcast. So, but before we sort of dive straight into the technology and that sort of thing, and welcome both of you. Thanks for the introductions. As I say, great to have you here. Let's talk a little bit about this. We're going to focus probably mostly on retail, I think, today. We'll probably get into hospitality a little bit as well, but starting with retail, what's happening in retail at the moment? People talk, one of the buzzwords at the moment, I would say, in retail, people talking about that is the customer journey. What does that mean? How's the customer journey in retail changing at the moment? What's your perspective on that?
Well, I'm going to let you go first now, Jason, because
All
you very kindly let me go
Yes,
first at the
thank you,
start.
sir. Yeah.
So over to you, sir.
So it's really there's many things going on, right? It's going to be hard to cover them all, but I mean, there's staff shortages now, right after COVID. I think everyone in the world is experiencing staff shortages. So how is technology helping to replace staff in some cases, or augment them and make them more efficient, taking tasks off of them that are as high of an ROI for the company? So I think that's a couple big ones just off the bat there.
Yeah, but is it just actually difficult in retail, like in quite a lot of areas? We touched on this in transport and logistics in a recent podcast as well. So it's generally difficult to get staff for whatever industry these days. Apart from Instagram influence, apparently there's an unlimited number of those available.
It's unlimited. But yeah, I mean, it used to be in the past, you get a lot of questions about, when I say replacing staff, that's, bad. That's a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
And it used to be a bad word to say. Now, even then, you'd put a kiosk in a QSR restaurant and you'd have people complaining that you're replacing staff, but staff wouldn't really change. They just started doing different things.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a continuation of that, but COVID definitely accelerated that because you used to have staff and you were augmenting them with digital signage and touch points and kiosks. Now you have a lack of staff, so you have to replace them. You have to replace that, not particularly them, I should say. You have to replace the job they might have been doing.
You're freeing them up to do more
Right.
important things, basically within the store or within the restaurant. They've got
adding more value.
They don't necessarily have to take orders and take payment from people. They can be doing things that a self-service kiosk can't do, right? Yeah.
Answering questions, giving more details. Does this thing contain gluten, or I have an allergy to pineapples, right? That type of thing, which is much more valuable to the customer and the brand.
And also a self-service kiosk doesn't say, I don't know, I'm going to have to go ask the chef. It's hopefully he's got that data in there, right?
You would generally tend to hope not.
Yes. I will go ask the chef.
Yeah, if you had to ping the chef every time there was a question, right?
Yeah,
I'm not sure there would be much value in adding them. But yeah, from our perspective, it's just seeing how the use of digital technologies in a store is really, as Jason has sort of alluded to at the start, just improving those operating efficiencies within a retail environment. It crosses over very much into hospitality, right, as well. But yeah, just being able to just, keep things moving at the pace, having people waiting for information or waiting to be told where things are, having to ask people for help. That creates a barrier and we're all busy people, right? When
no one likes to wait now.
No one likes to wait. You're absolutely right.
Anything.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I've never liked
7
waiting.
seconds.
Yeah.
Probably 3 now. It used to be 7. It's probably 3 now.
I mean, as Richard said, some people never like waiting anyway. But more and more now, our patience is dwindling. And we, as I said, we're all busy people. We want to get in and out. We want to be able to get the things we need and go on to the next task, whatever it is, whether it's back to work, whether it's out with the family. Yeah. So, it bridges that gap, really.
So basically, retailers are having to find ways to respond to that changing customer behaviour. And, so I guess, in addition to the customer journey, retailers are also increasingly facing more problems in their stores as well. So, I mean, what are some examples that you've seen of the problems that retailers face within stores? I guess going back to what we were talking with regards to staff, there's not just the difficulty of getting staff, there's also the cost of staff. How's that impacting retailers?
There's the cost of staff, but then there's also the cost of living crisis. The retailers are facing that as well, in the sense of their prices are going up, whether that be for buying the goods they sell, or whether that be the rents that they're paying on the high street. So it is a massive challenge.
No costs are coming down.
No costs are coming down.
Gas prices are not coming down. The cost of transporting goods is not coming down. There's no costs are declining, right? So for retailers, it's a huge problem. They've got to, and they can't necessarily pass on all of those costs in terms of price rises to their customers, can they? They've got to
no, because it'd be near constant, right? I mean, it kind of seems that way right now, that it's near constant, but it's there's only so much that the market can bear, right? And you have to walk that line. So you have 2 levers you can pull. I can increase prices, or I can become more efficient and have a lower cost structure to offset the increased cost structure on other things, like you said.
And the other sort of side of that is, during lockdowns, we were all buying online. That's how we shop. Other than the supermarkets and the pharmacies, which remained open, the majority of us, if we needed something, we were going to the likes of that big online retailer that everybody knows.
Yeah. So other unnamed online big retailers are available.
Like that. But yeah, it's about how do we get people back into the retail store. So whilst we've got all of these issues around the costs of everything going up, retailers want people to come into the store, and they want to create these experiences for people that are positive.
So I guess they've got 2 challenges there. One is getting people into the store,
getting them back.
Yeah, and the second thing is then when they've got them there, keeping them there and getting them spending there. So neither of which are particularly easy things to do when you look at the convenience of how easy it is to buy stuff online, which if you weren't aware of that pre-pandemic, you certainly became acutely aware of that during the pandemic, and I think a lot of that behaviour has continued since then as well, hasn't it?
And one big problem with that is not everyone, but most people were shopping online before. It accelerated that during COVID. But then now first problem, you get them in the store, right? No, I'm in the store. Well, now I've been trained that I click a button, I get what I want. So do I want to wait in the line? Do I want to walk around the store for 20 minutes to try to find something and get mad and leave because I can't find it, and then just go buy it online, right? So those are 2 big problems that were there before, but now they're
extended
tenfold, right?
Yeah.
I have no patience to wait in a line. Not many people did before, but there's a couple people in front of me at checkout. That's all right. Well, now it's like, this is ridiculous. I have to wait in line to go check out.
Yeah.
Or I had to, I'm wandering around the store trying to find what I want. I'm going to give up.
Yeah.
And go buy it somewhere else, or just buy it online, right?
So I'm with you there. Maybe it's just you and I that are impatient, but I think I would assume most people are like, but I think that there's some generational differences, I guess, aren't there? Different people at different ages want different things. What do we know about that? Are young people more or less patient? What about old people? Because a lot of retailers, I guess, they're wanting to. Some retailers, not all retailers, maybe some are purely targeting a younger demographic or an older demographic, but I guess a lot of retailers wanting to appeal to as many people as possible. So how are they responding to those differences between the generations?
A lot of that will boil down to the technology that they use in the store, and it's being able to have that alongside staff that are able to bridge those. I keep saying bridge those gaps, but that's the point of it, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned obviously earlier about the three things about get them in, keep them in, and get them to buy something.
Yeah.
So it's going to be different in every circumstance. Every retailer is different. They have different nuances that make them great, nuances that make them bad in certain areas. But being able to sort of offer that for the younger generation who have a sense of instant gratification. Yeah, they need that. They need it now. They don't want to wait for it.
Well, that also applies to middle-aged men, I think, as well. In some cases,
I can't speak about that. Yeah, I can't speak.
I'm not there yet.
Okay,
but I think the generational thing, right? To your point, you can have a different strategy, right? You might be a brand that's targeted to just millennials or younger, and you have a completely different strategy because that's going to be basically an all digital strategy, right? I mean, not every millennial or younger person doesn't want to talk to people, but a lot of them do not. So kiosks and wayfinding and QR codes, that would be great for that brand.
And at the same time, not all elderly people are tech averse.
Correct, yeah. So there's a blend, but if you go, and I'm not going to call it the 80-20 rule, but for simplicity, call it the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of millennials probably want instant gratification. That's coming through not talking to a person as a last resort. And then you have, baby boomers and the older generation who usually lean more towards, I want to interact with a person to find what I want, right? So specific stores that are targeting one or the other might be okay with a single focus. But if you're a large retail brand going after a large segment, which is, I want every person that's on the planet to be able to shop at my store, you're going to have to start developing strategies that focus on each one of those kind of generationals and their activities.
To be how do we answer the needs of those different demographics? And
because if you just have kiosks, well, like when my father or an older person walks in and I don't want to use a kiosk, I want to talk to someone and find out information by actually communicating with a human being.
Exactly.
They're going to be, I'm going to leave. Conversely, if you just walk in and there's a bunch of people and there's no way to do anything digitally, probably put off a bunch of younger people who don't want to talk to people.
So having a range of different options, if you want to appeal to as wide a demographic as possible, you want to be offering as many options as possible, or all the right options to suit the demographics that you want to appeal to.
I think it's a blend, right? And you have to have a strategy. You have to blend all those strategies together, but you have to have a strategy that says, I'm going to address this generation, I'm going to address this generation, because they do have different buying habits and behaviors.
Right. So, in summary, it's a complex situation that retailers are facing, lots of challenges to overcome, lots of different perspectives from different customers. The challenges of battling against a growing online business. It's a lot of things to fix, and we're not here to mend the entire world today. But talking fairly specifically about signage, what sort of things can signage do in order to help retailers address some of the problems that we've looked at?
So I think there's a couple big ones, right? On the high level, there's education. So you can educate your customers. You can educate them where things are. You can educate them about the products themselves. You have the ability to reduce inventory, right? So again, going to that cost structure, right? You can do endless aisles. You can tie people's purchases in store to an online database and ship it to them, right? So I'm shopping for jeans. I want a size 35. Oh, we don't have any of those. Well, do I go buy it in a different store? Oh, no. You should buy it at our store. We'll go, we'll get it. We'll order it for you and ship it to your house, or we'll get it. Here's a QR code, scan this on your phone, order it, send it to your house, right? So ways to, again, keep people in the store and keep them buying from you, and also keep them returning to the store, right? Because if
that's loyalty.
It's the experience, right? So how do I create an experience where it's a positive experience versus a negative experience? Because then you get into, I personally had a good time, I'm going to come back because my needs were fulfilled and I enjoyed myself, versus I had a bad experience and I'm not going to come back and I'm probably going to tell 15 people that they should never shop there.
Yeah, that's definitely something that you'd be wanting to avoid as a retailer. Yeah. And I think actually there's an opportunity here, isn't there, for retailers to really use the technology that's available to enhance the stores, to enhance the experience. I think few people these days will be satisfied with the fairly banal POS only retail experience that was available, some decades ago. I think now that the store needs to up its game and probably needs to become incorporate some of the experiences that you get with online retail, for example, where that whole suggesting additional products that you get online and a lot of the really cool stuff that's very, very easy to do on a website. How can signage, for example, be used to bring some of those things into a physical retail store?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, another big one is like pop-ups, right? So I know in Europe there's probably more than the US. I think you guys usually do things earlier than the US, but in the US, for example, you have Ulta at Target and you have Sephora at Kohl's. So you're starting to see, as a couple just big ones that I've noticed recently. But
there's some examples of that here as well, I think, in Europe, aren't there, Chris? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, for me, I look at it as sort of a few pillars of how you create that digital experience.
Okay.
Social is very much one of those. So it's about creating a hub for the community. If you look at the grocery sector in the UK, we've got people like Sainsbury's who will have a Specsavers, they'll have a Lloyd's Pharmacy, they might have a Costa Coffee, they're going to have an Argos in there. So it's creating somewhere where people can come to fulfill pretty much all of their needs, within that retail experience. So that's definitely one aspect of it. And supermarkets are replacing the pubs in relation to that community hub, which is a little bit strange.
I hope that's not true.
Well, I mean, so do I, right? But
if I stand around drinking in the aisles of a supermarket, this is the sort of behaviour that gets me into trouble.
You're gonna have different conversations.
Yes.
Normally with people in bright yellow high-vis jackets.
Sir, we've spoken about this before. Can you please leave Tesco's?
Well, so in that pillar, right, that social environment, you're adding all these different brands, but how does anyone navigate that, right? And that's where the signage comes in.
Yeah.
That's a key part, is you're providing information on what is here, how do I navigate the store, how do I know what brands are here, how do I know that this is the Ulta spot and this is regular Target, right? Like building, but also the signage is a key part of that, for sure.
And it's also things like, that's a partnership, right?
Yep.
I mean, having other brands as sort of pop up or other locations within a larger format store. It's about how you leverage those partnerships to drive more loyalty to your store.
Right. Yeah.
And the use of signage is a great way of doing that. The use of interactive technologies in general is a great way of doing that. It's about spend X, get Y. We see it at the forecourt, right? So you get 5 cents or 5p off a litre of fuel if you buy X, Y, and Z within the convenience side of that store. So the technology elements of that enable you to be a little bit more dynamic with that messaging and be able to change it in real time.
Yeah, this is exactly why petrol forecourt retailers don't have pay at pump like you get in supermarkets, because they want you to go into the store.
That's where they make their margin.
Go into the store, buy this. Here's a bit of incentive to spend even more money in the store, and that's all achieved by signage. They need to tell their customers that is available. So why not have the signage right on the pumps to get them to respond to that? Yeah,
the sign gets you inside, and then maybe you have an aisle end cap that has a signage on it that says, today it's this, this, and this, and you get 10 cents off the petrol.
Yep. And the other side of that, which is actually really interesting, is with the emergence, obviously, of electric vehicles. So if it takes you 10 minutes to charge your car, I don't yet drive an electric car, but if you're there for 10 minutes charging your vehicle, you don't need to go in to pay for that process. So there's also the use of signage and interactivity on the forecourt itself that sort of drives more revenue. Because if you're not going in, you're not spending the money. So having that type of technology available where I can order a coffee to my car, it increases that basket spend. So again, just another way in which technology is bridging the gap.
That's a great example.
And then you can also use that same technology to show advertisements, right? So you're getting some ad revenue. I'm sitting in my car looking at this screen. It's showing me advertisements. And then to your point, if it's a touch screen, I can then interact with it and say, oh, hey, I'm going to order a coffee and a donut. And then you can either go inside and pick it up, or someone could bring it out to you. But either way, you've now captured more revenue and also a better experience, right? I know I'm going to go charge my electric car at one of these stations because I know I have these services available to me that it might not be at a different.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, and I think that another really interesting thing about that is, if you think about how it's not just petrol forecourts, but also other retailers, they're turning the a wait time into a positive experience. They're actually making, where you think, oh, I'm sitting around bored. They're suggesting things that you can do, suggesting more things that you can buy, offering you a discount. How important is that, Chris, throughout retail?
Massively important. So what we're seeing is, we mentioned about the social element of stores becoming a hub.
Yeah.
But then from there, you have to make the right experience that we've sort of alluded to previously. And those type of experiences can be, for example, something like a lift and learn. So you're able to target the messaging around a specific brand, and retailers can make quite a significant return on investment in relation to renting that space out for new product launches and creating something that enables the brands to relate to the customers.
So the brand basically pays for a showcase that's enabled by technology, right?
Absolutely. And what that does is it helps create the educational aspect of it. So it's about learning about the products that we're buying, and being conscious of, the environment and all of those sort of things. Learning about sustainability, learning about the initiatives of the store.
Hugely important thing to retailers themselves as well as their customers increasingly. Yeah,
absolutely. Most of the sort of tier one grocery sector are really clamping down on, in terms of the products that they're buying, the technology solutions that they're implementing. So, and our customers are, the end user customer going into the store, buying, us as consumers buying products. They're more and more conscious of the things they're buying. So it's about that educational piece. It's about making it engaging as well. So for the younger generation, gamification in the stores, like having a lift and learn, answer a quiz on the product, get loyalty points, get a discount, get a coupon.
Brand interaction as well, right?
Precisely, right? And making that, making us as consumers engage more with the brands and get that loyalty to the brand as well as the retailer themselves.
Yeah.
And then you track that, right? That's the other big part, is the data, the analytics around that, right? So the brands in the store themselves are very, very interested in that data, right? So that lift and learn, if I lift this, do I buy it 20% more, 50% more? So the brands are getting information that makes them able to sell better, right? They can do A/B testing, they can do all types of things tied to these experiences. So there's some real value there they're renting this, or they're buying that space, so the store's happy. But the store in the end wants you to buy more product, right? So that's a win-win for both with that data.
The store's got this cool toy, whether it's lift and learn or gamification. They've got this thing that's enhancing the quality, the experience that their customers are getting by shopping at their store.
Yep.
And the brand's getting a benefit from it as well. And ultimately, so is the consumer. So is So is the person in the store. Yeah.
Right. And then it's a cycle, right? So that data helps feed better advertisements, better data. What do people actually care about when they're doing the lift and learns, right? Or any of those experiences, right? Gamification is what's the value, and then continuing to increase that and make it better, so that you go from, say, a 10% sales rate to 10 to 50 to 20 to whatever it might be, right? You're tracking that and you're tailoring it.
Yeah.
And also you get into, bringing in, cameras or the loyalty. So now you're tracking demographics and you're figuring out how you can tie that all together to make a better experience and also make more money.
Yeah.
An interesting thing that I'd seen just this week at ISE was around certain demographics being targeted through AI for specific brands in the store. So if a brand is targeting Generation XYZ, millennials, boomers, whatever, the content that then is fed onto the digital signage is driven by those demographics. And I found that really interesting in terms of how that, again, is just it's about the content, right? It's about how that integrates with the technology and the placement of that technology in a store, just to really drive extra value to the retailers around, getting more sales, pushing the right products to the right people in the right environments. That's been a really interesting.
Yeah,
absolutely. A little bit more targeted.
Yeah, because the attention span's so short now, right? You have 3 seconds or whatever it might be. So you don't want to show someone content that they might not resonate with them.
Yeah.
And just touching on what you said there, Jason, the content is the king in that respect, right? The content has to be engaging. And we're seeing more and more now in the retail sector, the content is really stepping up a gear. When we used to go into retail stores, it would be, here's your price, here's this, here's that. Here's a deal of the day. Wow, fantastic. But now what retailers are really doing, and they're doing well, is engaging more and more with really creative companies to be able to actually, create a pull around that digital signage.
Those
and that
partnerships are hugely important, right?
Massively important. And you'll see the retailers who do it well, and you'll see a difference between the retailers who follow the traditional ways of doing things.
Or try to do it themselves. Just badly. I mean, one of the things I'm looking at really closely at the moment is ISV partnerships, and how software can help traditional technology resellers into retail and hospitality. They're with the greatest respect to them, most of them are not hugely creative, at least not in terms of the artistic creativity that you need to be able to make a really engaging signage display. That's where you need partners, right?
And
experts.
That's
what they do.
It's all about ecosystem. It's all about a group of companies working together to achieve a common goal for their end user customers. So it's about having complementary solutions that are able to work in tandem to deliver that outcome. So, the cameras and the AI, the screens, the touch screens or non-touch screens, putting them in the right place within that store environment, and having all of those great content on the screen, a great CMS to able to drive those contents and dynamically react to changes in that store environment. They're all key parts of how that solution can be delivered in order to deliver that right experience for a customer in store.
Absolutely, and I think the other thing that's really important to mention here, and you kind of touched on it there, Chris, is making sure that all of these different things actually need to be integrated. They need to work together. It's great having a lift and learn solution, but if that's not somehow integrated into the signage, into the loyalty program, it's cool, but is it useful?
And also the POS.
Yeah,
right. So we need to.
Don't forget the POS. For God's sake,
how do you track the metrics?
Yeah.
The metrics are
engaging with the content all the way through to buying, and that's how you measure the success.
Yeah, ultimately, the metrics are the money that flows through the till. Yeah,
absolutely. So, I mean, just very quickly in relation to those metrics, having targeted solutions in your shop window, for example, driving people into the store, that's fantastic. That's step one of that. But as you say, it's about when they're in the store, how you track that all the way to a purchase or a sale if you're the retailer.
Yeah,
and then how do you get them to come back?
Exactly. That's fundamental here. That's why they do it.
Yeah,
right? That's why they do it.
It's loyalty, future discounts, that sort of thing.
But it's like the overall experience, right? I mean, and we touched on that before. But it's from step A to Z, everything in between, and then getting them to come back to A, and how do you pull that all together?
Definitely, yeah. And I think signage has absolutely got a key role to play there. While you've got people in your store, you've got an opportunity to show stuff to them, but also, rather than just blasting content at them willy-nilly, you can really, the technology exists, whether that be sensors or camera tracking, the technology exists to make that targeted, to make it so that we know that Jerry's going on a skiing holiday soon, so let's not show him adverts for sun lotion. Let's show him adverts for. Well, maybe he does need sun lotion if he's going skiing.
He probably will do.
Yeah.
He probably will do. Bad example.
Yeah, I'm not a skier. What do I know?
Gloves, right? Not swimming trunks, but gloves and a hat.
Better example.
Yeah, better.
Definitely better example.
Yeah, someone that understands skiing there a lot and swimming a lot better than I do.
But that's about curation. Right. And that's about having, which I see as another fundamental pillar of how a successful technology deployment within that user journey of a store happens. And another thing in relation to that is a lot of the brands have their own brands, right?
Yeah.
So the major supermarkets or grocery chains, they've got their own products that they have labeled as their own brand. So there's also a desire, wow, this is great. We're talking about engaging with other brands. These companies want to sell their own products as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's about how you curate your messaging to be aligned to what it is that your customers are expecting, and making sure that you're meeting their social needs in that respect, from how they view the environment, whether that be sustainable packaging, whether that be X, Y, and Z, but also all the way through to, as we talked about in relation to the demographics of the people buying in that store, about creating that curated experience to them, making them have that enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I think that links back to how physical retailers need to, recreate the positive parts of the online buying experience. So if you can, people who bought this also bought this product, that's really, really easy to do on a website. It's a little bit more challenging. How do you do that? How do you get that information to a customer in a physical store? And I think signage is probably the ideal way to do that. I guess there's things that you can do through the app as well, as long as they're on the phone. There are things that you can do if you've got a mobile, self-scanning shopper, whether that be a mobile one or a tablet built into a trolley or something like that. There's different ways to do it, but I think signage is probably the ubiquitous way of doing that, because you can put signage anywhere.
Yep.
Different size screens, different format screens exist to do that. And you can do things then with like suggesting, you've just bought this yogurt, you might like this fruit to go with that yogurt. And by the way, if you buy these other products to go with it, then we'll give you a 20% discount. You can talk about recipes and that kind of thing. So, complete the recipe and get a discount. That sort of thing is all possible. But,
and it's got to be digital signage, right? Because that's not, it has to be dynamic.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to print out a piece of paper with a recipe and then do that over and over and over and over, right? It's just not really a sustainable activity, and it's kind of a waste of time for someone to do that, right? But if you have the content and you just push it to the screens, or, like we said, you're now integrating in customer metrics, you have cameras, you have AI, you have loyalty cards, whatever it might be. Right now, you're tailoring it to that specific person. I know this guy buys a lot of pasta and pasta sauce, so I'm going to adjust to him a dish with some fresh vegetables.
Yeah.
Keep going down that line, right? So it's really, I'm going to steal one of your pillars, but it's really like a seamless, frictionless world you're trying to create. Like everything has to work together. So digital signage is like anchor, I would say. Then you have all these peripherals, you have the loyalty programs, you have the cameras, you have all these different things that have to work together. It has to be seamless because you can't give the customer a chunky journey.
And signage is almost like the end point, isn't it, really? That's the thing that actually should hit the customer in the face while they're there.
Yeah.
All these different
It's the visible point.
Yeah.
The rest of it, to them, to the customer, right? My loyalty, that you have cameras running facial recognition or AI, all these things are running in the background. That's not to them, right? It's, I'm in the store, tell me stuff I want to know. How do I digest you giving me information? It's going to be signage of some kind, be it just a digital signage that's just non-interactive, giving them messages or directing them where to go, or you're to a more interactive point where you're engaging with that person. Maybe they're scanning QR codes to download that recipe, or you're touching it to give them directions on a wayfinding thing to say, here's the 4 things on that recipe, whatever it might be.
Click here to find
click the button and it prints out a coupon, right? You can give coupons as well, right? On the spot. So maybe I don't have a phone. I can click the touch screen after I've viewed the recipe, prints out a coupon that says, if you buy these 5 items, this is what you get, you 20% off.
Complete a survey to get discount on the product you've just bought. Or here's click here to find out more about complimentary wines for the steak that you just bought. There's the possibilities are they're pretty much unlimited, really, in terms of what can be done. So and I mean just in terms of maybe wrapping up a little bit here, we've covered a lot of interesting ground during this conversation, but let's bring it back a little bit into what you guys do, what Elo and Ergonomic Solutions do as businesses, and looking at what, on a practical level, what do you have to offer to resellers that are selling, Blue Star resellers that are selling could sell these type of solutions into the retailers that we've been speaking about, Jason?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the great thing about the both of us here is our products are complementary, right? So our product line, you can go from 7 inches to 65 inches with interactive products, be that Android all-in-ones, Intel all-in-ones. We support Linux, Chrome OS, Flex, right? So pretty much anything you want to do, we can support that on the touch side. Fully modular, so you can help you build solutions with different sizes. I want a 7-inch signage here, I want a 10-inch there, We have, outdoor products. I want a 27-inch outdoor kiosk out in the front of my location that can go from, negative 20C to 60C and handle that extreme environment, right? All the way to 65-inch touch digital signage that you're hanging on the wall that could give, could be a wayfinder, could be, advertisements that are interactive, anything in between, right? So I think the power there is that we can help create that interactive solution, however that might be, and provide a great platform for whatever software you might be running. But also, like we said, the seamless and frictionless and the ability to tie it all together, so you can deploy a solution throughout the entire property and have it running on a same, like for Android, for example, right? It's running on the same architecture. So you develop one app to run on Android, and that's running on an iSeries 22-inch that might be a kiosk or your POS. You have the backpack that could be on a 65-inch IDS. The entire thing is running on the same architecture. So you develop one software and it's running on everything, right? I think that's one good example. But then the other example, and that I'll turn this over to you, is it's a system that's built to work very well with partners, right? Software partners on one side, but also partners like Chris over here and his product line. So I'll turn it over to him.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah. From our perspective, what we are looking to achieve as Ergonomic Solutions is assisting our partners and Blue Star partners, of course, in relation to...
They're the most important ones.
Most important ones, absolutely. But assisting our partners in relation to that entire technology journey within a store. So whether that be the in-window mounting systems to get the footfall into the store in the first instance, through to the different technology that's deployed around the store. So we mentioned things like cameras, we mentioned the touch and non-touch screens, we mentioned all of the other technologies that are required to make up that complete user journey in a store. For Ergonomic Solutions, that's where we come into our own, really, and our track record to deliver both, the standard product set, but also be adaptable to be able to work on the larger scale projects and take into account how that journey needs to occur, what the flow of the store is, where the best placement for that technology is in that environment. That's really where we come into our own, and throughout that entire journey, from the moment you first look at that shop window all the way through to the point in which you're checking out of the store and leaving. That's where we're able to assist. So helping to deploy technology in that store.
Excellent. So, very complimentary in terms of what you do. It's almost as if we planned this beforehand, that we could get people that would play nicely together.
We just both happen to be crossing through this location
same time on the same day.
Yeah. What a happy coincidence.
Wearing the same color shirt.
There we go.
You're looking very coordinated, I have to say. It's I must have missed the memo there. Yeah,
you definitely missed the memo. That's what partners do, right? We coordinate.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like I need to align a little bit more closely on the dress code for the next podcast, which is a good point. I mean, it's been really interesting talking to both of you guys today. Would definitely like to look at doing that again.
For sure.
I think we've been pretty targeted today on signage and how that can benefit retailers particularly. I think there's a lot of other related topics that we could have gone into today. So I've really enjoyed the conversation. I'm sure we'll continue afterwards talking about a few more things. But for now, we're going to sign off. Thanks for listening to another Ask Blue podcast. And just finish by thanking Jason Krause from ELO. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chris Dewar from Ergonomic Solutions. Cheers, guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
Pleasure, Richard.
Thanks a lot.